About myself, yes, I am actually born and brought up in Kolkata, but in 1996 I moved out for my MBA to do it from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS in Mumbai. Since then, I have been out for long. I was in Mumbai, I was in Lucknow, I was in Delhi, I was in Bangalore, I was in Mumbai again, and then finally, just before the lockdown 2020, I moved to Kolkata. So, city. So this is professionally like I have been traveling, but in terms of my personal aspect, yes, I love traveling and I love photography. Of course, uh, you have to get time for that, but fortunately these two are quite interrelated. So whenever I get time to travel, I try to get the best use of my photography hobby as well. First you said that whether this work from home model actually increased stress because of the availability of 24 by 7, right? So I must go back a little bit. If you remember, in 80s, not even 90s, that point of time, only mode of communication that we used to have was probably letter. There was not even email. So, you write a letter, let's say from a corporate office to your plant, and it will take about 3 days to reach there. And then they will read it, they will respond, and then again they will get back to you. It will take another 3 days. So 7 days, you just sit back. So there was no stress as such from that point of view, that life was much better. Now, as there has been an increase in technology, I think the expectation has been that it has to be 24 by 7, whether there is work from home or not. So the progress of technology, actually we are keeping ourselves busy 24 by 7 anyway in different industries. So with that, the stress level has also increased. You cannot afford to say that today is a Saturday or Sunday, I'll not look at my email, so on and so forth, or I'll not look at my WhatsApp. There are several WhatsApp groups. The world has become very small, and it's within your reach, within your smartphone. So that anyway has created that stress level of human beings, I would say, in a great way. So now, how do you manage that depends to a great extent with the organization and organization's culture. So if the organization decides, I'm not talking about COVID, I'm talking about pre-COVID, that there are organizations, they have said, okay, I want our employees not to look at email after the close of business hours. There are certain guidelines like that. But unfortunately, even if you try to do that, the world has moved in that direction, that your customers are asking 24 by 7, or your ecosystem is doing that. So you really can't keep yourselves aloof outside that ecosystem. But yes, depending upon, as I said, culture plays an important role. How do you manage and moderate that? That depends upon the culture of the organization. So now I think that aspect of 24 by 7 availability anyway was there. And with the COVID coming in, that has kind of aggravated in the area, the industries or the organizations which are not so pro into digital working or work from home, they have also gone into that mode. And the thin line between personal and professional life, that has kind of blurred. So yes, it has increased the stress, but again, it depends upon that, how the organization has dealt with that, and how are you kind of taking care of that aspects properly. That's number one. So I really don't see that there has been a distinct way of saying that because of this stress level has increased or decreased. It was anyway there. That's number one. So I don't have a very distinct answer either way. Number two, of course, I think you said that this has also created a lot of flexibilities, right? So I agree. Yes, the organizations or the industries which are not pro work from home, they realize the benefit of that. And a lot of things which used to be only face-to-face earlier, including interview, the recruitment or travel for your meetings, etc. Those are also kind of become easy right now with the work from home model. So that, I'm sure, has brought in a lot of flexibility and probably benefits to the employees. But again, it depends upon that how are you using it, right? If you are sensitive to the fact that there might be a child at home, there might be old parents at home, or there might be other priorities at home, and accordingly will schedule these meetings, even though it is work from home, then I think it is definitely benefit. It is almost like that. The nuclear weapon is actually the nuclear power, rather. It's basically for the benefit of the human being, right? But depends upon how are you using it. If you are using it wrongly, then it is detrimental. The same thing applies here as well. The work from home model has opened up a lot of flexibility to a lot of industries, a lot of companies, but they have to be also sensitive of using it very judiciously. If they are able to do so, this is wonderful, this is great. And it has also kind of saved a lot of cost for employees. A lot of efficiency has been brought in, because earlier to do something you had to go to office or had to travel to some other offices, which can be easily done using that digital mode today. So people have realized the benefit of that as well. So to summarize on that, I would say that yes, it has brought in flexibility. It has increased the reach by way of able to connect to people across the country, across the world easily. But at the same time, it has also kind of lost its depth, because the kind of conversation probably will be able to do it face to face. So that is not being possible today. So depth has decreased a little bit, but reach has increased. But overall, I think stress level and the stress level has reduced if you're able to use it judiciously, and has brought in a lot of flexibility. And I must tell you that this is a manufacturing industry. So yes, I really look at our workforce. 2/3 of my workforce is either working out on the production shop floor, doing night shift and otherwise, or they are fighting it out on the street selling our products. Yeah. So there is no way production can happen online. True. There is no sale can happen virtually. Right? There could be facilitation, but not completely. So 2/3 of my employees anyway, they have to do it offline. Right? So as I said, that we do not have a choice. 2/3 of my employees anyway would be coming back to work. So only way to give them psychological safety, and health safety is taking absolute precautions. So I think as in Star Cement, in the cement industry, we are aware that human capital is the most important capital for us, and they have to put their feet on the ground and work. So the kind of safety measures that we have taken in our factories, in the factory colonies, and not just the safety measure, but in terms of the whole human approach of taking care of them during the lockdown and otherwise, was tremendous. And we always put that, we made that thing very clear that safety is first. Safety is the first priority. So whatever you do, if you see that there is any chance of compromise, particularly, let's say, not the production, but the sales, when they're going and meeting the dealers, and if they find the dealer is not taking the right safety precautions, it was very clearly told that, okay, you can walk out of that sale deal, and then, your safety is the first important. So there is a very clear message that has gone from the top management that even if you have to stop your production, even if you have to stop your sales, fine, go ahead and do that the moment you see that there is any safety compromise. So safety is first. So when these sort of strong messages are going, so I don't think there is any problem. And of course, from the organization's point of view, we have taken enough precautions in terms of creating the right SOP, providing them the right kind of infrastructure, to ensure that the safety is taken care of. and creating that culture of safety so that there is no lapses by people. So and we in spite of that, I'm sure in the pandemic area you cannot keep yourselves completely insulated from that whole pandemic. So there are cases of few cases of COVID also happened with our employees, but the way the whole management has kind of taken care of them, creating the emergency response team every day morning, the whole senior management team for safety purposes. Every day we used to have our half an hour meeting to ensure who all are probably not well, what kind of supports that is required, not only to the employee, but even if the family members or even relatives of that employee is suffering or not well, how do you create that ecosystem to support him, not just physically but even mentally. So every senior leader was given few people. Every day we used to call up that those people who are affected by COVID, and used to take care of or used to ask about their whereabouts, health, and so that was the both preventive and on the ground safety measures were of a high standard, that I would say. So when you do that, so automatically employees, they feel safe, they feel that the whole organization is there for them, and organization is doing whatever necessary to take care of the employees' health and safety. So that's how we have managed. And as I said, that the principle of fairness is also very important, right? So while 2/3 of my employees are working on the field or the production floor, the corporate offices, regional offices, we also didn't take the advantage of saying that we will only do work from home. Well, there is a flexibility that was there, but mostly our offices were also open and employees used to go there. So they also kind of showed the solidarity with our other employees, other colleagues, that we are all together and equally we are kind of dealing with this pandemic, dealing with this issue of health and hazard and the safety. So while I talked about the difficult part of factories and salespeople, how they are taken care of, so it was relatively easier to maintain that in our corporate offices. So we absolutely maintained. Fortunately, we have had enough spaces, so the social distancing was not at all a problem. Starting from all the regular checks that is required at the entry of the gate till lift, and then wearing the mask. So we used to put the random snaps and we used to see that even if there is probably nobody around, but people are all used to the culture of wearing masks. Sanitizers were everywhere. We created different campaigns from HR, SMS, which is social distancing, mask and sanitizer. Any employee engagement and connect events that we used to conduct, for example, Independence Day, we also used to relate it to this current situation of pandemic and seeing how we should do our bit in terms of ensuring health and safety of our own self as well as for family and colleagues. So that was the campaign. We linked it with some of those initiatives. So it's a constant reminder to the employees that they are also responsible to maintain that culture of safety and health. And across the country, we were celebrating some of those events with that motto in mind. So these are many different ways we have kind of created that culture and taken care of employees. Yeah, so Madam, I think this is something, as you rightly said, it's not necessarily probably very much linked to the topic of health and wellness. It's for a long time, over the decades, this problem has always been. I think again here it depends upon the organizations. So the question is that it starts with what kind of product that you are selling, what kind of business therefore you are in, and thereby what is your talent strategy? Is it build, buy or develop? Of course, it should be ideally a combination of all three. but where your focus is more. For example, there are organizations where building the organizations, building the talent, that has been an probably priority focus areas. So if that is the priority focus area, then obviously tie up with educational institute, collaborating with them, by way of nurturing the students while they are studying, provide them exposure into the industry, creating that industry academy interface, and then absorbing them, and then training them and into your organizations, imbibing them into your culture. That's a kind of a age-old, kind of a process many organizations they follow. But understand that when your business is such that you are getting into an area or diversifying into an area where you do not have your internal capability, internal competencies. So obviously you have to depend on buying the talent from the market. So you'd rather go and buy from similar industries, similar competencies immediately, because you need result immediately. You don't have time to build, and neither do you have the infrastructure or the capability in-house to build that talent. So then you'll probably not tie up with the institute at that stage. But as your business stabilizes, you feel that you have now built that internal capability, then you should again focus on long-term capability building. And then educational institutes play a vital role in doing so. So in our kind of industries, of course, it's a manufacturing industry, so it's engineering, whether it is diploma or B, or at the workman category ITI. These are some of the areas where you can always look at. And even some of the cases like your BSc, MSc graduates, they can also play an important role. If you train them well, you can tie up with them BSc, MSc institutes well beforehand. There are certain computer operated processes that they can even do it very well. So as I said, that this is probably true for our kind of industries, but if you go to FMCG, you'll find they would probably depend more on the MBAs, because they are the people who will probably put the focus on the branding, marketing, and organizations do tie up with them, those institutes, and run a lot of initiatives and programs to attract the right talent and nurture them, both within the institution and within the organization during the incubation period. So there are two aspects probably where we are talking about. One is as a general HR challenge for the organization or the industry to run, right? So I thought the question was that, and of course you are adding that if we are taking students from the institutes, then what will be the challenges, right? So let me address the first one. I think that's where I think our focus has been more, and the whole world is dealing more with that. I feel that there are two challenges as far as HR is concerned, which are very, on the priority list. One would be that dealing with ambiguity. And the second, I would say that in that ambiguous situation, how do you continue to be fair and transparent? These two are very, very difficult, because, when you are not dealing with ambiguity, then you can create your, charter, create a path, and you can say that that's how I'd like to be fair and transparent, fair with all the employees. But when there is an ambiguous situation, so you need to have probably different approaches for different employees. That's the need of the hour. At the same time, you have to also look at your employees and say that how the other part of the employees say would feel, that whether they are not given a fair deal or not. So just for an example that I already touched upon that before, that if 2/3 of my employees are working on the field, and though it is fair not to bring, you might feel that, okay, if the employee is working in the corporate office or the regional office, that it is fair to do work from home because the whole world is doing. So why can't you get to do that? But then you also need to be sensitive to the fact that 2/3 of your employees are working offline. So if you think that their safety doesn't matter, it is only employees from the corporate offices, regional offices, their safety matters, then it is not the right thing. So we had to ensure that particularly the senior folks, we are leading from the front, coming back to the office. And so our message was that this is an issue the whole world is dealing with. So our only way to come out of that is to ensure personal and organizational safety and health. So how if we take care of that, then we'll be equitable, we'll be fair by taking the same risk, whatever small it may be, by after taking all the precautions. But that's fair. We are on the same boat. So that's one example that I can give. Other examples could be different parts of the countries were having lockdowns in the different time. And how do you deal with that? How do you ensure that salaries are paid in a manner where people feel that they got a fair deal, right? I'm talking about the distribution, because one part is probably working from home during the lockdown, other is going to the office because that part of the country is not having any lockdown. So those aspects are very complex aspects, right? So it was a huge challenge, and I think first time in many decades, HR was put into the real challenges to deal with such aspects of employee morale, employee equity, fairness, health, ensuring business is still running and it is profitable. So it was a very, very interesting, challenging, but definitely interesting time for all of us. During these 2 years, our intake of students from the campuses were not really much. But being in the industry, being in HR, when I talk about, when I see around, I feel that this has been an issue in terms of the kind of quality that probably you expected earlier from the students community. Of course, there was a gap. But I think, as I said, that as an ecosystem, I think all of us have to deal with that. And there is also a time, as time progressed, I think the way initially there was a hiccup probably within the organizations with the different demographics of employees, that how would they adapt to the digital way of working. And I'm sure that there was a lead time to reach there in terms of the efficiency. The students community also, I'm sure that has happened. So by now we have all learned the trick and we have adopted the way of working, and we are kind of okay with getting both the benefits of this situation and thereby also dealing with it rightly. And your filtering process also has to be enhanced in a manner so that you don't depend completely on the organization's institute's results and the scores. You need to also have your own way of evaluating people and filtering people to ensure that at the end you are not allowing any such pilferages to happen. Right?